it's the 5th century AD. The Roman Empire has fallen. Its occupied lands remain fractured and vulnerable. Locals realise that the neighbouring territories are up for grabs. Now that Western Europe is freed from its chains of Roman totalitarian ownership, the natives find themselves looking upon their neighbours with envious eyes. Local territory disputes mostly would have been stamped out by occupying Roman governance to prevent escalation. However, the Mediterranean war machine is no longer in control. Farmers seize the opportunity, taking up arms, readying their longboats, and set sail to nearby shores in search for treasure and plunder. Iron, although gradually becoming more available, is still very hard to come by, and only the wealthy can afford such craftsmanship. Bows, arrows, axes, spears, partnered with wooden simple shields, are the most popular choices for these new-found coastal raiders. For those, perhaps, with a little more money to spend, possibly from a particularly fruitful recent plunder, decide to invest in a more dynamic raiding tool. And so, the Seax was born. A simple, somewhat crude answer to the more status-bearing iron sword taking the form of a single-edged knife. These Seax came in many shapes and sizes, from the small blades ideal for whittling to long, combat-only beasts. Designed for one thing and one thing only: cutting. Sure, you can stab with this blade, however a lack of a crossguard would make a very strong stabbing motion somewhat a risky ordeal for the holder. The chance of letting one's hand slip upon impact, cutting yourself on your own blade, would pose as a very real and somewhat embarrassing possibility. The non-existence of a crossguard, married with the lightweight and overly short construction, gives us the key to this weapon's intended use: a quick, close-quarters combat, preferably against unarmoured foes. I feel I should explain the name. The word Seax has multiple roots, the most well-known of which would be from the term to cut or to saw. The name is also related to scissors. In fact, the Saxons received their name due to the fact that they were notable for their utilisation of these dagger/knife hybrids during their countless raids of coastal England. This particular example from Tod Cutler is a brokeback Seax, named as such due to the sudden change in angle of the spine of the blade. We cannot know for certain why this specific design was used, although it may be due to the fact that it stabs easier, uses less steel, and therefore is also inevitably a lighter weapon. So let's begin with the grip. Although we only have a few incredibly rare examples of in-period Seax handles we can see today, we can take an educated guess based on surviving similar examples, and general common sense regarding the desired handle construction. For comfort and function, that the handles would be oval. We also know that the grips would have most commonly been made of wood, possibly ash or oak, with a horn bolster between the wooden handle and the metal blade. However, some Seaxes were known to have a full horn handle, most likely a grander, more expensive luxury. As previously mentioned, note the lack of crossguard. Here you can see a typical sword from the Saxon or Viking period, with a classic rectangular guard rounded at the edges and very reminiscent of a typical spatha from the earlier Iron Age. Some Seaxes definitely did have crossguards, more so the scram Seax, which was the bigger brother of the Seax, which, roughly translated, means wounding knife, a hint that this Seax was purely intended for combat only. Now moving on to the blade, you'll note a strong, broad blade, with a sudden taper as previously mentioned. Just from holding it in the hand, you can feel that the blade wants to chop, and indeed it would be very efficient at doing so. The broadness of the blade means that there is a lot of meat backing up each slashing motion, and the lightness mixed with the shortness of this particular example gives the Seax all the necessary ingredients required to be an extremely versatile and dangerous tool for close quarters, used for vicious melee combat, the kind you'd expect from sudden coastal village raids and small-scale skirmishes. The general stoutness of the blade also allows limited utilitarian and domestic use. While on a raid you may be camped out in the woods for cover, perhaps you'd need to spend some time chopping up firewood, stripping an animal carcass for meat, or perhaps chopping up vegetables. Likewise, as a villager, you'd need to perform similar tasks in your daily life, or maybe you'd want to carry a weapon with you to be prepared for these sudden threats from the coast. A Seax on your belt would be a much more practical option as opposed to a sword, axe or spear. Sure enough, the Seax became a staple for Nordic and Saxon life for centuries to come. It would have been the 5th to 11th century equivalent of a smartphone, a multi-purpose item kept handy on your person at all times, useful for everyday life as well as for getting out of a spot of trouble, while also being somewhat a status symbol, showing your fellow townsmen or raiders that you had a bit of money to splash on a fancy new accessory. Now, I'm not an expert on historical bladesmithing, so I cannot comment on how structurally accurate Tod Cutler's Seax really is. However, I have been assured by much better educated friends in the reenactment world that Tod Cutler's daggers, and indeed all items available on his website, is of impeccable quality and accuracy, and I have no doubt that that is the truth. This dagger is one of my most prized possessions, and I never get bored of just holding it and looking at its simple yet elegant details. At the time of recording, this Seax is currently available for £102. However, it is currently even on sale for a discounted price further of £86.70, and this includes a high quality sheath of leather and brass, which has a choice of colours of green, red, black, brown or natural. The generic blade is advertised as semi-sharp, however the only sharp part is the very tip, which would cause a lot of damage if you were to use it in reenactment combat. I personally would not suggest using this weapon for combat in reenactment unless you are to round the edge to at least the roundness of a 5p coin. The blade can be sharpened for a small additional fee. Again, at the time of recording, the additional sharpening fee is £10, which is incredibly affordable. Within the UK, shipping is just £6.50 currently. However, I have heard that international shipping is also very affordable. To quote Tod Cutler's website, this is a 10th to 12th century Langseax, the definitive Viking and Saxon dagger/knife, in a broken back style typical of the later Viking period and through into the 12th century. Wood and horn grip, single-edged carbon steel blade, veg tan leather with brass sheath. The knife comes semi-sharp as standard with a 1mm edge or can be sharpened at an extra cost. Overall length is 43 cm, grip length is 17 cm, blade length is 27 cm, blade thickness at the hilt is 6.5mm. The weight for this item is roughly 270 grams, which makes it incredibly light, and 520 grams for the sheath included. To summarise, I would highly recommend this piece from Tod Cutler, and indeed any other items he has to offer. I also own this antennae dagger, and I plan to purchase many more items from his store in the future. If you would like to see more of my reenactment kits, or perhaps historical places that I visit, please feel free to follow me on my Instagram, which, as always, will be linked in the description below. For now, thanks for watching.